Get ready to have a blast on Corey's Cast, where we talk about everything related to rehabilitation and recovery, from injuries and treatments to the unique journeys in the pursuit of an optimal life. I am your host, Corey Rasmussen. All right, welcome to another episode of Corey's Cast, where we feature special guests coming back to the show to talk a little bit about their injuries and the journeys that they were on to get back to the things they enjoy. I'm your host, Corey Rasmussen, physical therapist and owner of Physical Therapy Specialist of Idaho. Today we have a very special guest. We have Gracie Smith with ISU Softball. She's quickly becoming a local legend here in Idaho, as she is also Idaho homegrown from Meridian, Idaho. Okay, so we're going to go over her bio just a little bit real quick, give you some background on where she's kind of coming from here. So she joined ISU Softball in 2021. She enjoyed some success in her early years at ISU and has made the Big Sky All-American All-Academic team every year she's been here. But really, in 2024, you exploded as far as her success and really coming on the scene. So I'm going to highlight just a few accolades here that are pretty amazing. So she played in 47 games in 2024. That's quite a big jump from the prior years. She scored a batting average of .396. Now, we covered a little bit in a recent video, but just in case you didn't hear the explanation on batting averages and slugging percentages, just to kind of go over there quickly as I understand them. So if you're up 100 times at bat and you get 40 hits, your batting average is .400, correct? Roughly. Yeah. Okay. Now the slugging percentage is if out of those 40 hits, she's hitting all doubles. Basically that's 2 bases per hit, so you times that by 2. If she was hitting all triples, you times that by 3. So if all 40 of those hits were doubles, then she'd have a slugging percentage of .80. So continuing on, her slugging percentage was .604. She scored 40 runs that year. She was 19 of 20 for stolen bases. So she's a speed demon as well. That's awesome. Plays in the outfield, .957. Fielding percentage, so that's awesome. And then twice in that year, you were Big Sky Player of the Week. Yeah. That is awesome. What a career that year was for you. She was named to the Big Sky All-Conference First Team, and she was also Big Sky Batting Champion. That's pretty awesome. Yep. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So that's a little bit about last year's success. She's already off to a great season already. So they went down to Texas Tech. You may have already heard about this because it was a couple of weeks ago. But they went down to Texas for a conference tournament. Not a conference tournament, excuse me, just a tournament. And they played Texas Tech, number 13 in the state, and they whooped them. So, and Gracie was a huge contributor to that, hitting a walk-off home run. So, Gracie, why don't you walk us through? First, let's just talk about heading down there. You're going down to Texas Tech. Your plan is to play number 13 in the country, and you're going to play number 4 in Texas A&M. Yep. So what was the team's mindset going down there? You guys are going down there to play these juggernauts. How did you feel going in?
Yeah, we knew that the caliber of competition was going to be there. Like you said, they were ranked 13th in the nation, and A&M was ranked 4th. So we knew that we were going to have to bring our best stuff, and we weren't going to be able to just show up and play the game. We really needed to show up, with all of our ducks in a row and make sure that we were prepared and stuff. So I headed down there. We spent a lot of time talking about playing free and playing loose. That's how we find the most success as a team. So we kind of had this mantra all weekend of why not us? We're going to be in College Station. Might as well put on a good game for these people. Might as well, see what we can do, test our limits, and just put our best swings on some pitches and see what can happen. And Texas Tech was our first game of the whole tournament. So it was a welcome to Texas kind of moment. But yeah. So we played Texas Tech the first game, and we had them close all game and stuff. And ended up coming out with the victories. That was cool to just set the scene right away from Texas beating the number 13 team in the nation. Yeah. But yeah, we kind of had this goal in mind going down there of just playing our best softball and coming together as a group and playing for each other, not for ourselves.
Yeah, what a great statement game early in the season for you guys. Okay, so I want to set the stage a little bit for the home run. So again, she hit this walk-off home run against Texas Tech. So yeah, set it for us. We'll go ahead and play the video here right after she describes this. But let's go ahead. What's the scene like? What's the runs? What's the count? Who's on base? That kind of thing.
Yeah. So we had been kind of we were ahead like 1-0 most of the game. There was like a bump, they worked the runners on, tied it up 1-1, and we came back with some hits, clutch hits, drag bunts, and stuff like that. We worked it 2-1. They tied it up again, and our pitcher's just holding them in like a great game. Like Lizzie Tomasini, she's actually from Eagle too, and she was just pitching a heck of a game and just like really holding them in there, like keep limiting the damage, like doing her thing. Defense was right behind her. We were making the plays and stuff like that. So we were tied going into whatever 6th and 7th, 2-2. And I was the first batter up of that inning going into the 7th. I don't remember if we were home team or visiting team. I don't remember if it was the top or bottom of the inning. But yeah. So I was the first batter coming up that inning, and I kind of felt like calm in that moment. Like I never felt like the moment was too big for me.
Right.
Like I kind of felt like I knew that I was supposed to be in that spot at that time, And Coach Rich, somebody asked me like what he said before my bat, and I'm like, he didn't say anything. Like he just like gave me knuckles and like walked down to third to coach. But I just felt like I knew in that moment, like, what I had to do. I knew what pitch was coming first. I think we talked a little bit about it. Because she had pitched me inside my at-bat previous. Yeah. That first pitch, and I had taken it because I'm usually expecting outside. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of figured that since I took it first pitch last at-bat, that they figured I'd do the same thing, whatever. Yeah. So I was kind of expecting that, and I was able to, like, clear space with my body and just trust my swing and trust my hands and really get to that inside pitch and send it over right field. And, that ended up walking off the game, and nobody else had to go to bat. But
yeah, that was pretty amazing. As you can see in the video clip here that we're showing you, home clocks it right out right field, walking towards first base, making sure it clears the fence, and then home run, and the celebration is on. So that was pretty sweet. Yeah. Fantastic. And then that was in that moment, you also got Big Sky Player of the Week that week too. Yep. So that's pretty awesome. So 3 on your career. Yep. 3 in the last 2 years. That's pretty awesome. Again, we're talking about the whole big. We're not talking just ISU's Player of the Week. We're talking about the Big Sky. So that's pretty awesome. All right, that's fantastic. And then you guys have had some good success just recently beating Utah here at home. So that's great. I want to walk back a little bit to early career. Talk to me a little bit about growing up playing softball. Like, were you constantly in traveling teams, and when did you start playing, and did you actually experience any injuries or barriers along the way?
Yeah, I started playing probably when I was like around 8 or so. Just like with the youth teams like around the area and stuff. And I'd always been around the sport because my older sister, she played softball, and she played at the D2 level at NNU down in Nampa. Yeah. So I've always been around the sport. And I knew that I was pretty talented and I could play competitively. And so I started getting into, like, the travel balls, like, pretty early, like the select teams and stuff. So, I started playing travel ball and select. And once I started getting, like, older, tournaments were all over. My dad's driving me all over the place. And then it started time to get recruited, and, I'm going to camps and stuff like that. So we're just driving all over the place. And travel ball, I spent a lot of time, like, just working on, like, focusing on my craft and, like, specializing in, like, what I could do good. So, like, I switched to the left side when I was probably, like, 10 years old. So, I started right-handed. So
she's talking about batting. So she switched to left-handed batting.
Yeah. I switched to the left side of plate when I was, like, 10, just because I was fast and, I had the speed there. So I might as well, like, utilize that. So I want to specialize that, just, like, using my speed and stuff. And then...
Is there an advantage to batting left-handed versus right?
I mean... Maybe. You're, like, that much closer to first base. Yeah. So that's why a lot of, like, slappers, their on-base percentage is, like, really high. Okay. Because they're running towards the ball and staying in motion towards first base. Okay. And, like, drag bunting and stuff. I've recently found a lot of success, like, bunting and, beating out that ball. But, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So, did you specialize in softball at an early age? Did you play multiple sports growing up, or when did you kind of just, focus on softball?
Yeah, I ran track in middle school, but I played basketball in high school too, up until my junior year. And then once I committed, that's when I knew that I wanted to focus on softball, so I could be prepared coming in my freshman year. But my parents have always been big on, like, playing as many sports as you can, and that's all my siblings. We've played, a couple different sports here and there.
Okay, awesome. So, and now she plays at the college level. So for someone who's trying to get to the college level, what kind of advice do you have for them if they're at the high school level currently and they're really trying to aspire to get some college looks?
Yeah, I think putting in the extra work and like not being afraid to like go above and beyond, like that'll really separate you from like your competitors and like even teammates you're like battling for a spot against, or even if you're just trying to get recruited. I found like my freshman year too, like coming in and just like not being afraid to put in the extra work and the extra time and doing more than what you think, like it'll just set you up for more success and you'll be able to just have that edge against other people.
Nice. Excellent. Good advice. So before we move on to injuries, because that's what I really want to talk about here, I want to know a little bit more about softball. I know kind of the basketball and the football world just because I grew up in that kind of environment, but not a lot about softball. So talk to us a little bit about preparation for upcoming teams. I mean, do you watch film on people, and what are you looking for? Talk to us about preparation for an upcoming game.
Yeah, preseason we don't watch as much film going into the tournament just because these preseason games, they don't necessarily like matter. I mean, they do matter like for, you know, building like cohesivity with the team and stuff, but like for our record, they don't like really matter. So we don't really spend a lot of time watching film, but once conference hits, we spend like an hour, less than an hour, like watching the pictures we're going to see, taking notes, like analyzing the spread chart of like where, like for left-handed hitters, like if like it's a 50% like spread chart over here, then I know I'm like most likely to left field, like I'm gonna most likely get outside.
Explain
so just,
a
like,
spread chart for people.
Yeah, so like we have like on the field like a diamond, and there's like percentages with like each section of the field that the ball is most likely hit. And so it could be like 50% to left field or like 10% to shortstop, or, you know, like it's just like spread different percentages throughout each position, which kind of correlates with like what pitches you'll see.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, conference hits and we watch a lot of film, take notes, and we watch like I'll watch other lefty batters like hit against this pitcher and like see if I can like establish a pattern.
Yeah.
Or notice any of like her tendencies.
Mm-hmm.
So like going to these conference games, like we already have that like mental edge over them.
Right.
Like I kind of know what I'm gonna see. But yeah, preseason we don't as much, but preseason a lot is about like practice and just working out the kinks before we get to like the important stuff.
So what's like a practice look like? Are you guys hitting off of your pitchers? Are you hitting off of machines? Like how do you guys practice?
Yeah, it's like a balance between both. I mean, our coach, he loves doing live. So we've been facing live off of our own pitchers since last October or September. Like they've been throwing live to us, and it's good for them to like see, you know, live batters and not just like throw a bullpen. But we see our pitchers, we just did live yesterday, and we won't do as much. I mean, I'll get like 3 at bats or here and there, like it's nothing crazy. And we have the cages out in the outfield too, and we'll have a machine like it's called the Hack Attack, and we'll have the hack set up in there, and that machine is nice because you can put in real balls versus like a jugs machine. It's like, you know, those dimple balls. I don't know if you've like seen it. And those don't ever feel good off the bat. So the Hack Attack is nice because you can put in real balls, and so like you get the feeling of what it feels like coming off your bat. So we do a lot of like machine. Defense wise, we'll do 21 outs and pop up priority, and, you know, first and third, just kind of like putting ourselves in situations that will be faced, you know, we'll see in a game.
Yeah, awesome. So I saw the other day on social media somebody, and I don't know what school, so they threw a 77 mile an hour softball pitch. What kind of, I mean, and I don't know what school that is, what kind of level of pitching are you guys facing in the Big Sky? What is an average speed, or what is a high speed that you guys are facing?
I think I saw it too. I think it was Tennessee. Does that sound familiar?
It sounds familiar. They had the Tennessee colors.
Yeah, it was like the fastest pitch like ever thrown. Yeah. We're facing, I mean, that level is like insane, but we're facing like some high speed would be probably like 66.
Yeah.
Maybe 67. But a lot of the pitchers, like we see, you know, mostly in our conference, they're like low 60s, you know, with a little bit of spin and stuff like that, or like changing elevations. Yeah. But yeah, 66.
Speed's not everything, but that's awesome.
Yeah, 66 is probably, I feel like, humming it.
Yeah.
What we're seeing.
Yeah. That girl's going to need some therapy.
Yeah.
Sooner than later.
Yeah, that was insane.
That arm is trucking.
Yeah.
So let's use that as a segue into some injuries here, okay? So now I met you fall of last year, because of an injury, but why don't you kind of walk our viewers through your injury? Like, when did it start to come on, and you were trying to deal with it and play through it? So just kind of talk to us a little bit about the background here.
Yeah, it was last year. I remember during a preseason tournament, we were in Arizona, and I just remember being in the outfield, and like I couldn't really like walk. Like I had this like sharp pain in my left leg, and it felt more like, it didn't feel like a muscle. Like it kind of felt like more internal, And so I knew that I needed to like get it looked at right away. So I started working with my trainer and stuff like that. And we were ruling out like other muscles and stuff, like my calf and my knee and my hips and my back, because, you know, it's like all correlated and stuff. So we were like ruling out other things, and I was just like pretty adamant, like, no, it's like, it's pretty localized and it feels inside. Like it might be bone. Yeah. And like I can feel that it, like, it's just too sharp to like be a muscle. Like I know, like I know what muscle soreness is. Sure. And it doesn't feel like that. And so we worked in a couple weeks, and she's like, okay, let's get an x-ray. So I got an x-ray and an MRI, and it has showed that my fibula was fractured. Not like all the way through, but it was starting to fracture, and even that little bit of fracture was like causing me so much pain, and like it was hindering like my jumping and my sprinting in practice. And so I had to like tone back my conditioning and my running, and really just like reel it back in so that I could keep playing, because I didn't want to like get taken out or get told that I can't play or like any of that. But yeah,
that's crazy, because I mean, so this is spring of 24. And this is what I just went over in the beginning of the video, where you played like 47 games. So, she definitely wanted to be in there, and we're glad she did, because she had an amazing year that year. So, all right, so then you went home for the summer. You took that time off, so pick it up there.
Well, for the summer, I didn't touch a softball, which was like completely like not normal for me. You know, I'm used to going home this summer and like putting in work so that I could be prepared for the fall season, like coming back. And I didn't touch a softball. I was like let off of it, you know, because I was in a boot at this point, because the last couple months of season I would show up to practice wearing a boot, and then practice without it, and then leave with the boot back on again. I started wearing like ankle braces during practice, taping my ankles, like anything to like give me support like in that lower part of my leg, because the change of direction was like becoming really hard for me. So I went home for the summer, and I was like, my goal was to like let off completely, let that bone heal. I'm taking like 1,000 milligrams of calcium, like just anything I could to like, you know, strengthen that bone back up. And then I came back in the fall, and we started getting back into it, and it was only a couple weeks, and I had started to feel like the beginning stages of that pain again. And it had only been like 2 weeks of practice, and so I knew that it was too soon for that pain to come back with all the time that I had taken off. Like it just like didn't make sense, and I was starting to feel like frustrated and stuff, like it was like never gonna go away and all that. I got in with the trainer again, and we started like decreasing my load again, and doing the bone stimulator, trying to get that bone to heal back up. And she recommended physical therapy, and so that's when I started coming in here and working with Corey.
So those bone stress injuries can be tricky, because you got to manage the load, obviously. And then it sounds like you did everything you possibly could during the summer. And that transition, a lot of people don't. They just rest, and they're like, at least you were taking some nutrition and doing some proper resting and stuff like that. But it's always that, okay, I've now taken some rest. The tissues have started to heal. How can we start to get back into sport without rushing it too much too fast? And so it can be tricky. It's hard. There's no certain cookie cutter protocol. I mean, there's some suggestions and things like that, but everybody's a little bit different with their healing timelines and everything else going on there. So we were fortunate to get an opportunity to work with Gracie, and it was a great experience. I'm glad you kind of highlighted on that part, because I was going to ask you, now these injuries that you just can't get over can get frustrating, and then you can get mentally down, and then is this my new norm, and this is the way I'm going to finish my softball career? And it sounds like your mind was starting to dip into that level. When Gracie came to therapy, I could see that a little bit in the interview process, but quickly within a visit or two, I saw that mind shift in that she's like, kind of like that. What she said when she was up to bat was she was made for that moment kind of thing, and she knew that was the time for her to shine. She kind of had that mentality and that confidence coming in, that she's like, okay, I'm going to put myself into this 100%, because this is where I need to be, and this is what's going to help me. And that's so huge in the healing process, when people come in with the mindset that, what's therapy going to do for me? The outcomes just aren't that good. But when they come in there and you get in what you put in, you get out what you put in, then the outcomes are so much more successful. So, and she's a great example of that. So let's talk about the rehab process. So why don't you talk a little bit about those first couple of visits? Was it kind of what you expected? Was it not?
That's funny, like you mentioned that. Like I remember, like when you were first like getting familiar, like with my injury and stuff, and you're like asking me those questions. I was already like, I felt like pretty defeated. Like at that point, like I remember being like, well, this is like, you know, the not the first like professional I've seen. Like, you know, I'm getting asked the same things, and I'm telling the same story, and it still hurts, and it's still like all this. Like I did the nutrition part, I did the rest part. Like I was like doing all this, and I was like is more exercise gonna like benefit? And like, you know, this was the one thing that like took away the pain and like set me apart from that. But yeah, I remember coming in like the first couple times, and I was like, I mean, it was like surprising. Like it didn't really go like how I thought it would, because it started off like pretty intense. I feel like from the get, you know, like I was pretty sore. I remember going home the first couple times, and I was like that's PT. Like I get now why people say like, oh, I don't want to go to PT.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it was like, you know, some hard work and stuff like that. But yeah, I feel like the intensity of like the workouts and stuff, and you know, just building my lower leg muscles, because we did that testing, and I had like a 20% deficit, I think it was what it was, like in my quads, and I didn't even think that, you know, the correlation that has with like sprinting and stuff, and like everything, you know, from the bottom like up. And so it was really important for us to like build like my lower leg strength and like go from that.
I think you even had a little bit of a hamstring strain, if I remember right. Now that you brought up that test. And so, yeah, that was a whole other animal that you got to address at the same time. And so, yeah, I mean, not everybody starts out that intense, but, you know, injury specific, that kind of stuff. She's already put in all the base work. So we needed to just tweak a few things and then really get after it. And hamstring strains you get a little more aggressive with. And I felt like the bone healing had probably taken its toll and was there, and so we just needed to kind of further strengthen everything kind of around that weak part as well. And so yeah, we hit it pretty hard, and she was a beast, and she took it and responded very well.
I definitely became familiar with we talked about last time, BFR, the blood flow restriction. That became my best friend, and I feel like that was really what like took me over like the next edge, was like building like that strength and that muscle, and like, you know, all those like fibers, and, you know, like tearing down the muscle to like build it back up and stuff.
Yeah. So I wanna hit on that a little bit. I actually, for future podcasts, I'm thinking about some of these people that I want to have on the show, and we're going to film some of their exercise programs, because I think it's beneficial that people can kind of see some of the stuff and the hard work you guys are putting in for this. And I was looking through my phone. I swore I had some stuff with you, but I didn't have anything that I could find on there. But yeah, you guys are going through some workouts, and I do want to talk about this BFR, this blood flow restriction training, because it is a huge component with her bone stress injury. So these blood flow restriction cuffs, and we could put a link into, I have another video where I talk about actual blood flow and a little bit about the science, and just even using it as a recreational athlete. But for her, in her case, what we can do is we can restrict, we put these cuffs on, and we can restrict the blood flow to the area a little bit, not occlude it, but you restrict it. And so it does two things. One, after an injury, and this can be any injury, you're going to get what's called muscle inhibition. So pain sends signals to the brain then shuts down the muscle kind of at the local level. There's some research coming out that it's also a central nervous system thing, and so you can get weakness throughout developing and stuff like that. But anyways, so it shuts down some of those muscle fibers, especially the fast twitch ones that are responsible for explosive speed and agility and stuff like that. So by adding these cuffs in there and kind of starving the muscle of blood, it's forcing the body to recruit more muscle fibers. It's forcing the body to recruit these fast twitch muscle fibers, which then gets them woken back up and improves strength and performance in that aspect at a local level. At a systemic level, what you're doing as well is, normally with strength training, you need to be exercising with loads that are 65 to 80% of a 1 rep max. Well, especially on a bone stress injury, that can be too much. And so, yeah, you do want to load the bone to create some healing there, but that can be too much. And so by putting on the blood flow restriction cuffs, strength gains are attained with 20 to 30% of a 1 rep max. So you're able to get the same strength gains without the load on the joint, on the muscle, and that kind of thing. And it's accomplished that by tricking the brain. The brain now, because the muscle's so stressed out, the brain thinks you're working out with these really heavy loads, so it starts to secrete a bunch of growth hormone, upwards of the level like 290% compared to just exercise alone, and that stays elevated for like 90 minutes after exercise. And so that's in the circulation system. So whatever injury someone is battling, then the growth hormone is going to go to those injured sites and help with tissue repair, collagen, and protein synthesis. And so that's just kind of how that works a little bit. So it was really important for her. Not only was it a great workout to get kind of the strength back without jeopardizing her recovery here, but it was also a way to stimulate the bone healing a little bit faster and make that more of a solid heal there. So that's why and it's an intense workout, right?
Yeah, my brain was stressing. I remember being like, because it was like as much of a mental battle as it was physical. Like I remember like pushing through the reps, and you're doing like, I don't know what we did, like 20 to 30 reps, double and then single leg and all that stuff. And my brain, like I could feel like the stress.
It's so much of a mental because you want to give up, but you can't. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to get the results, you can't give up. And not everybody, can do it. And Gracie did a great job with pushing through, and she got the benefit out of it. Of course, we did tons of other stuff. We did a bunch of jumping, explosive type stuff. We did sled pushes, things like that. So and blaze pods. I talked about blaze pods a little bit about on Ava's show and things like that for some reactive therapy as she's working in the outfield. And also, I think that as they get better with responding and doing this cognitive reaction therapy, it's going to slow the pitches down for you just because it improves that whole central nervous system and reaction. So that's kind of cool.
We did a lot of single leg stuff too, which I feel like surprised me. Like I didn't think that we would focus so much solely on like the single leg, and my single leg like balance and all that, like not very good. I mean, it definitely got better at the end, but I remember struggling a lot with like the single leg stuff, and really feeling like as like the more we did it, like I could notice the difference in like the growth I had in doing single leg jumps, because I had taken like jumping like completely out of my like working out and stuff like that. And so when I came here in the fall, we like started jumping and doing single leg stuff, and I kind of like remember being like hesitant and stuff about it. And once I felt like I wasn't like feeling any pain, and I could like go for it, and I started to like notice the improvement in like my single leg abilities and like stuff like that.
Yeah, she brings up a great point. One thing is balance. People, I mean, no one trains balance. Like, why would you, especially at a young age? Yeah. And after an injury, it's so important because you're improving what's called your proprioception, which is again just your nervous system indicating kind of where that joint is in space, and then reacting with the appropriate muscle contractions and stuff like that, and just working on overall balance and working on muscles above and below the joint by doing that kind of stuff. And then especially for this end range stuff, they're not in softball. You might be jumping for a ball or a fly ball or something like that, but you're also doing a lot of explosive movements for takeoff and stuff like that after you've done a hit, and stealing bases 19 out of 20 and all that kind of good stuff.
Right.
And so jumping is a good way to simulate that explosiveness and that landing, and put some good forces through the bone, through the soft tissue, and just make them that much more stronger so they can absorb those forces during the game. So that's a big thing. And then, at the college level, when the strength trainers are designing their programs, they're kind of, catering to the team. And so most of the movements are, bilateral with both legs and things like that, because they're more functional, more sport specific kind of things. But once you have an injury, a lot of times you got to zero in and try to catch that other leg up or that other arm up, depending on what your injury might be, so that you're a little more symmetrical and don't result in any future injuries. Mm-hmm. So you're feeling good now, playing phenomenal. So you guys, your next upcoming game here at home is against who?
St. Mary's.
St. Mary's. Now, this isn't conference play yet, or is it?
No.
Okay.
No. This is playing St. Mary's. I'm pretty sure is going to be the last team we play before we get into conference games.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So it's going to be a really exciting season to watch. These girls are phenomenal. They have a great culture. We talked about that. They have a great coach. It's going to be exciting to see what you guys do this year.
Yeah, I'm excited for sure. We've definitely put together a special group, and every time we go out there on the field together, like, I know we're going to put our best out there.
Yeah. Gracie, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Of course.
Again, I forget, I'm new to this, but don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share this video. We're trying to get 10,000 views with each of our videos, and we'd appreciate your help doing that. So thanks for tuning in. See you on the next episode of Corey's Cast.